After I was in the ICU in a coma for 30 days, when I came to, I was very confused. I thought I didn't recognize my wife for several weeks after that point. And I've had to learn over a course of years what actually happened, like what my illness was, why I was in the ICU in the first place, and how long I was there, and what treatments were done. All that I learned from my wife because I don't have any recollection of that. What happened was that I had a gallbladder infection, unbeknownst to me, and I went to the ER and they turned me away saying I had a pulled muscle. Then I was losing consciousness. The next day I was in a coma. My wife took me back. I have no recollection of anything of the next day. When they went in to remove my gallbladder, I got peritonitis, which very quickly turned into sepsis. So I never was awake for any of that. I didn't know any of it happened. And they told my wife that I was most likely to die. And if I did survive, I would most likely be in a vegetative state for the rest of my life. She didn't even tell me that right away when I was more cognizant. It took me a while before I recognized her even. She would come in and say, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "Yeah, you're my drummer's girlfriend." And that was true when we were 14 years old. The next day, I said, "Why are you asking me such a stupid question? We've been married for 35 years. The impact of my family was tremendous because I wasn't really the same person that I was. My likes and dislikes had completely changed. I was a professional musician for 40 years, and I didn't want to hear music at all. I still haven't listened to music in 15 years. For the next 8 years, I was wandering in the wilderness. I wanted to find a reason why all this had happened and what had happened to me. It turns out that a friend of mine who'd been in a coma was reading a medical journal, and he saw an article by Dr. Wes Ely from Vanderbilt University. Now, right away, reading the article, I burst into tears because what he was saying and what his patients were saying were describing my experience to the letter, to the word. So my wife contacted Vanderbilt and Dr. Ely, who then put me in touch with Dr. Jackson at Vanderbilt, who was leading a support group for post-ICU patients who had a thing that at that time was called ICU delirium and was later renamed to post-ICU syndrome, or PICS. So I started attending that group, very skeptical that it was going to be of any use to me, and I thought I had nothing in common with these people, of course. And when I got in there, they're again saying the things that I'd been telling my wife word for word. The NIH, they currently say that 4 million people every year in the United States come out of the ICU alive. 80% of them will have PICS. So you're talking millions of people each year. I think any cuts in medical research or funding for medical research are criminal because there isn't enough already. There clearly is not enough, and not just about my issue that I have, but across the board. And it's not just my HMO. It's all over. And I think that's only going to get worse with politics the way they are today. It's so easy for instance, in critical care, it's so easy for a doctor to see a patient in coma and think, oh, he's sleeping. Generally, we're in a nightmarish delirium. I know of no one who had a warm, fuzzy delirium. Doctors need to be aware that that's going on. Well, I know there are people who do that. I've encountered them, right? And I know there are a lot of people who don't do that. If they listen, because like today, I was talking from my heart. I cried. I hope that they can see that. So it's hard to do stuff like this, but I'm at the point now where I don't care because I think it's so vital that we discuss everything openly. And when I host these support groups, I always say we owe it to each other to be completely honest at all times.